ಈಗ ಮಾಡ್ಬಾರ್ದು ಕಾಂತತಿಲ್ಲ
ಹೊರಗೆ ನಿಂತೆ ಒಟ್ಟಿಗೆ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರು ಅಂತ ಖುಷಿ ಪಡ್ತಲ್ಲ
hello everyone. Okay, so in previous class we have discussed about inheritance concepts. In C++ also we have discussed inheritance. So inheritance is mainly it is acquiring a superclass properties to a subclass property, and here there is no access specifier need to be specified while accessing or while inheriting, and you have to just use extends keyword for superclass while inheriting. So this is all concepts which we have discussed in the previous class. Class, subclass, name, extends, superclass. There is no access specifier and there is no colon, and you have to explicitly write specifier as well as the class type separately. There is no need of that here in Java. And in Java, all the data members, the member functions are public by default. Unlike in C++, all the data members and member functions are private. But here they are all public. And here we have seen an example of class inheriting another class. So if a class is inheriting another class, it can have its own variable and it can use the superclass variables also. So that facility is there with inheritance. So this is the example which we have seen. And this is also we have seen in this previous class. And here this program or this example is just to make sure that the private members of a class is private to itself. I mean, if we are using inheritance also, you cannot access those private data. So that we have seen. And next, uses of super. There are two uses of super. One is calling a constructor. Another one is using if you are assigning any value from a subclass to a superclass variable. So that is also there. So using a super. One is it acts as a constructor. Another one is if you wanted to access the private data of a superclass, then you have to use a super keyword. So here you can see. Second is used to access a member of a superclass that has been hidden by a member of a subclass. Okay, and next is, so this is an example, room and the hall. Room is a superclass, hall is a subclass. And here you can see that in room we have two variables, length and breadth, and in hall we have height. And in hall constructor or in a subclass constructor, we are calling a super, and first two parameters must be the parameters for this super, because when the subclass object is created, so it is going to call this constructor first. So this constructor in turn it will call the superclass constructor. So first the first two parameters should be for a superclass and the next parameter for the subclass. Okay, How many parameters you want, that many parameters you can include depending on the implementation. Okay, and this is one of the super use. And here we have created an object, and via subclass object we are calling a constructor. So these two parameters are the superclass constructor parameters, and this is subclass constructor parameter. And area is a function which is available with the room, I mean the superclass, and the volume is a function which is available with the subclass. And keyword super, when we can use. Okay, so that is second use of super. The second use of super is must applicable to all the situation which members name subclass hide members by the say. I mean, when this super class or super keyword is used, when we have same named variable in both subclass as well as superclass, then we will use that super keyword. So for that also we have seen an example. So here class A is also having a int A, class B is also having a int I, right? So here we are unable to differentiate I is for which class. When you have created an object for B, so it will override a instance variable I of A. So you have created an object for B class, I mean this subclass, so it will assign a value for I. If you wanted to assign a value for this superclass I also, then you have to use super keyword. Super dot I, that indicates we are assigning a value of I of superclass A. Right. So this is also we have discussed in the previous class. Next is multi-level hierarchy, and here in the last class I have told that there is no concept of multiple inheritance here. Here we have only multiple, and the hierarchy you can include. So multiple inheritance is completely avoided, and multiple inheritance you can achieve through interfaces. Next concept we have interfaces. But multiple inheritance is completely absolute here. I mean completely ignored, avoided here. So we have only multi-level hierarchy. So here so creating a multi-level hierarchy. So multi-level hierarchy indicating that, so here example we have seen that there are three classes A, B, C, and C can be a subclass of B, and which is a subclass of A. It is like three generation. Okay, grandfather, father, and the son. It is like that. Okay, so this is also an example which I have taught in C++, and it is same. Concept is same. The only difference is there is no need of specifying a colon followed by a access modifier, either a private, public, or the protected. You can just use an extends keyword. So here we have an example, class A, so which is having a variable I, and so I is a function which we have in a class A. In class B, so class B is extending a class A. Okay, class B is a subclass of class A, so which is having a variable J, and which is having a function show J. So here class B can have a permission to access both I and J. Right, this is a subclass of A, so it can have a full permission to access. And here you can see that class C it is like a grandchild, right? Class C extends class B. So in class B we have J, in class A we have I. So class C can make use of I, J, and its own variable K. Okay, so here void show K function is there. We are just displaying a K value, and one more function we have in C. So that is void sum. So here what we are doing I plus J plus K. We are summing all the variables because C can have a permission to access all the three, because it's a subclass of B, and B internal subclass of A. So this is a grandchild. So here class multi-level. So multilevel.java you have to create a file. Public static void main. Within that you have to create an object for subclass. Subclass object is enough. Okay. So you can create a object for a subclass. So C object is equal to new C. We are allocating a memory for that. So now object is having I, J, and K. Okay, in that memory location it can have the permission to access I, J, and K. right? One. So it is explicitly assigning 1, 2, 3. There is no constructor we have used here. So 1, 2, 3 we are assigning a values because all the three I, j, k are variables of type int, and object with the same subclass or the grand subclass object we are calling a sum function. So sum function is only with that class C. So you can just call object dot sum. So it will sum up all those and it is going to print. All right. So void sum, we are not returning anything. So it will print here itself. So we are printing and performing an operation in the system dot out dot println. So this is a multi-level hierarchy. So the only difference is that instead of that colon followed by access modifier followed by a class name, we have extends keyword. There is no colon here, there is no access modifier here. So here we don't have any constructor in all the three classes, right? Here we have a function and we have an instance variable with respect to each class. But if we have a constructor in all the classes, like class A, class B, class C is also having all the constructor, when the object of C or the grandchild is created, so here we have created an object, so it will call a constructor. So how it is going to call? When the constructors are going to call, when we are inheriting our multi-level, when we are performing a multi-level inheritance. So it is gonna call how it is inherited. So first superclass and then the subclass and then the next grand subclass if we have. Say if you have created a constructor of this C class, or if you have created an object of this C class, C in turn call B's constructor, B in turn call A's constructor. So while printing, first superclass constructor will print and then the subclass constructor will print. That is the concept here. Okay, when our constructor call, and this is important concept. Okay, it is like how the constructors are going to call when we have a multi-level inheritance. So it is like here you can see that the answer is in the class hierarchy, constructors are called in the order of derivation, how they are going to derive. Okay, from superclass to the subclass. So here is an example, the demonstration example. Uh, First superclass, class A, which is having a constructor. So in that we have one statement, uh, A's constructor. So in class B here we have another statement. In class C we have another statement, and another class we have taken calling a constructor. So in that we have just created an object of C, means C class object. C, the small c. So which is in turn calling a B's constructor, B in turn calling a A's constructor. So it is going to display inside A constructor first statement, next statement inside B constructor, and inside C's constructor. So how they have derived, depending on that, it is going to call. Next, method overriding. So this concept also I've taught in C++, I guess. The method overloading indicating what? So the functions which is having the same name, but the parameters are different, order, type, and the sequence. Okay. Uh, so method overriding indicating that both are same. I mean the return type as well as the parameters and the name. Everything should be same. So that concept we will call it as a overriding. So this overriding concept is applicable only when we have used inheritance. So class A is also having the same function, class B is also having the same function with same signature and same return type. Then the method overriding applies, or else it will just overload one or the other, like signature may vary, so it will act as a method overloading. Okay, so method overriding indicating that the method should have the same signature and same type of same return type. So here class A is having two variables and we have a constructor. Via that constructor we are assigning a values of those two variables or those two instance variable. So here we have void show function. So in that we are just displaying a I and j, void show. Okay, and here we have class B. Class B extends class A, right? So within that we have k variable and we are using a super constructor or a super method. So in order to assign a values for a superclass instance variable, and the third parameter must be the value that is assigned to a its own class variable. Next, void show. So here class A is also having a void show. Here class A and class B is also having a void show function. So here in class A it is just displaying I and J, but here we are just displaying a K. In class A we are displaying I and J values, but here in class B we are displaying a K. So in superclass also we have a same function, in subclass also we have a same function without parameter, and a return type is also void. Same name and the same signature, and there is no parameter, everything is same. So in that case, so usually what we will do, we will create an object for a subclass, right? If we are creating an object for a subclass, it will call its own function. It is not going to call a superclass function. So the superclass function will be overridden, or it is hidden. It is hidden. So void show function, it is just displaying a K value. It is not going to display a I and J value. So for accessing a superclass method, so how do you access a superclass method? So we have a concept called super keyword, right? Super dot show, right? So in earlier case we have super dot instance variable we have used. You can use super dot function also, you have function as well as variable. So this will call the function which is available with the A class, I mean the super class. If you wanted to print both I and J value with K value, then you have to use this, right? So when you have created an object for B class, it is first assigns all the values to the respective instance variables of A class as well as B class. So via that object, if we have called show function, it will first call the show function of a super class, and then it will print the its own class variable. Okay. So here class override. So within that we have created B sub object. So subclass object we have created, and we have assigned 1, 2, 3 values. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2 are get assigned to a super class instance variable are I and J, and 3 get assigned to a subclass variable. And sub object dot show, so it is going to call the this function show function, and show in turn call the super dot show function, which is going to call the ace function, or the super class show function, which is get prints the I and J, and K is also get print. And here and this is one note is there, method overriding occurs only when the return types and signature of two methods are identical. So whatever I have said, so it is given in the point. Okay. Method overriding occurs only when return type, I mean the void show. If you are writing int show also, you have to write int void anything you want. Okay. So both the methods are identical in superclass as well as in the subclass. If they are not, then two methods are simply overloaded. So this is also I have told. Okay. This is about multi-level hierarchy, how they are going to call, how the constructors are going to call, and how the function or the method is overriding. So method overriding is important, and constructor, how the constructors are going to get called, right? So constructors are going to get called the order of derivation, and method overriding same name and same signature and the same return type should be there, then the method overriding applies, or else it will just a method overloading. Okay. Next is, and this is also very important concept, dynamic method dispatching. So dynamic method dispatching indicating that, so instead of writing or instead of creating an object for each class, you can just create an object for a superclass, and via that superclass you can call other functions. So we will just see with an example. So here dynamic method dispatching is a mechanism by which a call to a overridden method to resolve at runtime rather than at the compile time. So mm, so here we have seen an example of object is referring another object. So here a superclass reference variable can refer to a subclass object. Okay. So this dynamic method dispatching is just to avoid method overriding concept. Okay. So in method overriding, what happens? Only subclass method will get called. If you wanted to call a superclass, you can use super method. Okay, so that concept is there, and this is also available, and this is very important. What is dynamic method dispatching? Explain with an example. It is commonly asked question in exam. Okay, so how it is going to resolve at the runtime? Let us see with an example. So dynamic method dispatching. So here class A is also having a call me method. So inside call me method, we are just printing a statement. Class B is also having a call me. Class C is also having a call me. So here, what we are doing here. So class B and class B and C are the children of class A. I mean the B and C are the subclasses of class A. Here you can see that there is no multi-level hierarchy here. There is no multi-level hierarchy. This is a single class. It is having two different uh, subclasses. This is not multiple. Okay, indeed. So here this is class B is also subclass of A. Class C is also subclass of A. So here, if you wanted to create an object for B as well as C, so it will call its own function. If you wanted to call this class A, I mean this method is overridden. If you wanted to call that, then you have to use the method dynamic dispatching. So this example is different than the previous one. Okay. So here class dispatching function. So here we have created a object for A also, B also, and C also, right? And then so here we have in A's object memory we have call me method. B's object memory also we have call me. C's object memory also we have call me method. Right. So here we are just creating a reference variable. So this is just a memory location which is pointing to nowhere. Okay, just in memory location it is null. So this example also I have explained. A is a class name or is an object or a reference variable which we have instance variable we have created. So if we are doing like this and the statement is ended here itself, this indicating that the memory location which is allocated for R and it is having a null, right? So now if you wanted to call a A's call me method, then you have to assign a object, because in A's object memory we have already call me method, right? So R is a reference variable which is of type A, right? Which is of type A. So you have just assign A. R is equal to A. So it is just pointing to the same memory location which is A. I mean A's class, right? R dot call me. When you have assigned this, what happens? So it is like giving a name for another name for A's class object, right? So R dot call me. R dot call me. So which is gets called the A's class call me method, right? So when you have created an object for class B as well as class C, what happens? Class B and class C. So it is called its own function, call me method. So when you have created an object for A, so it will call its own object. So wait a minute. So here and here. So when you have created an object for B, so it will call its own call me method. So it will nowhere calling the A's call me method, because A is a superclass B, superclass of B, right? So here R is equal to B, we are assigning a reference variable or the B's object memory to R, or A's class object. So R dot call me, so it is going to call the B's, and similarly C, right? So here you have to create a reference variable only for the superclass. You should not create a reference variable for the subclasses B or C. You should not create another reference variable for B, R or C, or you should not create like that. If you wanted to achieve a dynamic dispatching, you have to create a reference variable for a superclass only. Okay, so subclass reference variable will not be allowed here. So this is about dynamic dispatching, and this is very important. Dynamic dispatching is which shows that when we wanted to create R, when the method is overridden, so that method uh, can be called via superclass reference variable, and that too at the runtime. So that is why we will call the dynamic method dispatching. So at the runtime only, the reference variable or the superclass reference variable get assigned to a different object, different object. So that is why we will call it as a dynamic method dispatching. So dynamic andre runtime method. So while runtime we are calling a method, I mean dispatching we are calling a method. So that is dynamic method dispatching, and that is very important. So in inheritance concept, the multi-level hierarchy is important, method overridden, uses of super, and the dynamic method dispatching. So all the three concepts are very important. Okay, so this is all about inheritance. If you have any doubt, you can just put it in a chat section, or you can just text me. Okay, the next concept is exception handling. Exception handling indicating that, so the name itself says that exception indicating that, so interruption. Interruption. So for example, mm, if I wanted to say something to you, so in between you will interrupt, so you will make disturbance, right? So that is also a kind of exception. Or in the programming in the scenario, if I could explain that exception, if we wanted to execute any program, in between if we have any errors, right? So that errors, how you can handle, so that concept we will call it as a exception handling, right? So we will see what is actually the exception. So an exception, it is just an event, or it's a problem that arises during the execution of the program, right? So it's a kind of error, right? So those errors are okay. I'll just introduce this exception concept, and later we will discuss what are all the concepts we have in exception. So here in exception, it's a normal flow of program disrupted by the another application or another program, and our program is terminated abnormally. So that the case of exception are when we have executing any program, if any errors occurs or any application may comes or pops out. So just now it happens, right? So this condition we will call it as a exception, or program gets terminated abnormally. Abnormally, I mean there is no successful execution of the program. Okay. And there are three categories of exceptions. So here I have told that checked exception, unchecked exceptions, and the errors. So errors, these are the exceptions, but all the programs arise beyond the control of the user program. So if we have, if we are able to debug the errors, then it's okay. If not, we will have the errors. So those kind of errors here they are describing. So unchecked exceptions are the exceptions. They are at the time of exception. I mean the runtime exceptions here. Unchecked exception. Checked exception here. Compile time exceptions. Okay. So here when we are execute or when we are compiling, that time if we have any errors, so they are all checked exception. When we are running any program, then we have got any errors, then that is unchecked exception. So these third category, so here checked exception and unchecked exception you can handle, but these errors you cannot handle. So that is the beyond the control of the programmer. So this is the third category. So unchecked compile time exceptions, unchecked runtime exceptions, errors. So these problems arise beyond the control of the programmer. So you cannot handle these kind of errors. So here unchecked exceptions we have. Unchecked exceptions here, there are runtime exceptions. So runtime exceptions here in the last line you can see that in the table Java's unchecked runtime exception subclasses defined in java.lang. I mean, so these are all the subclasses which are written under or which are inheriting under java.language. So as I have explained in the class, java.lang is one of the class, so which is a super class of all, right? This is the basic of all the classes or all the subclasses. So one such are we will see several unchecked exceptions are runtime exceptions. So they are arithmetic exception. Arithmetic exception indicating that arithmetic error. If we have divided by 0 error, then this error will be thrown. Array index out of bound exceptions. So this is, so if we have only array size 3, if you wanted to access a fifth element in array, in that case it will throws this error. Array index is out of bound. So that error. Next, array store exception. Next is assignment to array element is an incompatible type. Say for example, array indicating what? So this is a homogeneous element, right? If you wanted to, if you are trying to include a heterogeneous element into that, in that case it will throws this error. So there are several other errors, so you can refer. So here, null pointer exception, invalid use of null reference. So this is an example for object is equal to null. So this these are the different unchecked exception. Next, these are the checked exceptions. So these are the exceptions which are available in the textbook also. You can see once. Okay. Uh, this is class not found exception. So you are referring a class, or if you are inheriting any class, so that class should be existing one. So if not, it will throws the error class not found exception. Okay, next, illegal access exception. Access is denied if you are using any access modifier like private or protected. So in that case, these errors will occur. So these are the different checked exceptions. I mean, these are the compile time exception. They will throw at the compile time only. Okay. And this is uncaught exceptions. Okay, uncaught exception. Just an example. So class exception 0 is a class name, and here we have a main method. So within that main method we have two different variables. one is get assigned to 0, and another one we are performing an operation. So this program is just to show the arithmetic exception. Okay, so here you can see that 42 divided by d, what's the value of d? It's a 0, right? So this will throws the divided by 0, in which line actually the error caught, right? So 1, 2, 3 and the fourth line, right? If you are executing your ada programs in your lab or in your pc using any NetBeans or Eclipse, so these many errors are this kind of errors you can see. Okay, so here java.lang, this is a main class. So within that we have arithmetic exception. So as while explaining unchecked exception I have told, so these are the subclasses of exception, so which are under java.lang. Okay, so this is divided by 0 exception. So actually where it is or where the error is, it is showing, I mean in which line the error is there, right? Divided by 0 error at the class name in the main, and it's a file name exception.java. So class name is exe0.java, and in the line number 4. The next one is, so the same function, same statements, you can return it in a function also, or you can include in a function also. Class example, sorry, exception 1. So earlier one was 0. So exception 1. So in that we have one subroutine, static void subroutine. So what's the meaning of static? So I've told in the class. So why do we use static? Uh, so in the same, those two statements are included here. Instead of 42, we have 10 here. And in the main, we are just calling that function, right? exe via class name, we are calling that function exe1 dot subroutine. Okay, subroutine, in that subroutine, what we have, d is equal to 0, and we are just having 10 by 0. So 10 by 0, so which in turn will throws the error. So here you can see that there are two error here, or it is showing two lines where actually the error is. One is while calling at the subroutine only, I mean here itself we have an error, and here one more error. So 1, 2, 3, fourth line, fifth, sixth, and the seventh line. Okay, so we know that there is an error at the subroutine, and even though we are calling that, so this is seventh line also we have an error. You can see that in the seventh line, and in the fourth line also we have a arithmetic error. Okay, arithmetic exception error divided by 0 error. So this is an example how you can have a errors. Execute few ADA programs so that you will get to know how the errors will occur and how it is going to show the error statement. Okay, so then only you will understand this exception. Uh, Next we have try catch block. This we will explain in the next class. Okay, so uh, exception is just an interruption while executing a program, or the normal flow of program is get interrupted or get terminated abnormally. So that is an exception. Uh, so they are categorized into three types. One is checked, unchecked, and the errors. Checked compile time, unchecked run time, and the errors they are beyond the programmer control. And these many errors we have seen, and this is a program. And in the next class, we will discuss try catch statement, and